My name is Jana. I live in a forest, and this Sunday I promised that I'm going to make something on camera. And the project that I'm working on is an idea that I had. It's very simple. I'm making a big deal out of it. Let me show you. A couple of weeks ago, I had a brilliant business idea that I'm going to make something small and try to sell it because I want to try selling things, and selling big things is difficult and selling small things seems achievable. So I've decided that I'm going to make a little like coasters or mug rugs. I don't know what's the difference. If you know, let me know if a mug rug and a quilt coaster are the same thing or are they a different thing. Anyway, I've chosen some designs on Pinterest, and I started with this one. It's a little coaster. It's quilted and it's binded and it's cute. And I was looking at different color combinations and I made a couple others. At first glance, it's beautiful, but I wanted to make it something that I can sell, and that's why it needs to look good, and it also needs to be made relatively quickly. And I ran into a couple of problems. First of all, I'm using this kind of wadding. It's pure linen, and this way it doesn't melt, which I think is very important. So I can use it for something like a thing that you put under a pan. I forget what it's called. So it's very stiff. I actually like this because these things are sturdy, not very floppy, but it made quilting this by hand really difficult. So I couldn't do a regular kind of several stitches at a time. I had to go from top to bottom, take the needle out, and then stick it from bottom to top, which is not a good idea. But it looks kind of okay here in the back, and here it looks okay, but here you can see that I didn't have a good day probably. So you can see the stitches, and these stitches are uneven. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is the whole quilting and binding experience isn't very enjoyable. I really like putting together the design and playing with colors, but quilting takes a very long time, and binding by hand also takes quite a lot of time, and it's fiddly. So the plan for today and tomorrow probably is to try out a couple different ideas of mine. Idea number one, we want to make quilting look good from the back. I came up with three different options. First option is don't quilt it. It doesn't need to be quilted because this thing is so small, it's not going anywhere, and it's not going to be like too messed with. It's a little thing. It doesn't need quilting at all. Actually, it's going to be enough if I just stitch it around the perimeter. It's going to be fine. That's one. A second idea is that I'm going to quilt the top to the wadding without the backing and see how it looks. And the third option, I'm going to take some thin wadding and quilt it to my top and then put it together with the linen wadding and with the backing, and see how it looks, how different it looks and feels. But I also need to try and see how it looks without quilting at all. And a second idea that I have is I'm going to try and make some of those things that I have self-bound. So I've cut the backing fabric much bigger than I need, and I'm going to just bind it onto itself. It's going to make things easier. So let's start doing it, because I can keep talking all day and nothing is going to get done. I have invested into some high quality quilt wadding, and it feels illegal to just cut into it like this. But I need a little square. Actually, the idea for this project was something that I came up with because I was, as usual, looking for something to do with my hands when I ran out of little handmade projects, because I finished piecing together my EPP quilt and I needed to have something on hand just when I need to procrastinate in a productive way. And that's when I came up with this little project. Like, I'm going to make little mug rugs. They are going to be small, giftable, and I'm going to be able to get something done in a short period of time. And making one of those completely by hand takes about an evening. A nice little project to fill my time. And I quickly realized that making them like that for sale is not a good idea, because it's too much time and it's not going to be something that can sell for a lot of money. So it's not worth my time. But it's going to be, I can still make them like that and give them away to friends and relatives. And yeah, it's like a nice project to do, but it's not a nice project to sell, if you know what I mean. So as I was stitching, I've realized that the best business strategy, if I'm going to try and make money off of this project, is to actually make like an instruction tutorial and sell it to unsuspecting Russians, because English paper piecing is not very popular. Like, patchwork is very niche in Russia. It's not very, I don't know why, but it kind of got lost in the mainstream culture. It's not even very well represented in museums and stuff. It's like it's so closely associated with poverty that people don't celebrate it, I suppose. Even though obviously this culture, the culture of patchwork, did exist at some point. But it's not in the culture at all. So patchwork as it is very niche, and English paper piecing is a niche inside a niche. Nobody does it. And when I first started being interested in it, I managed to find 1.5 books, because one was a book and another one was a little booklet, and that's it. And since then I tried to find a different book to give it to a friend as a gift, and I couldn't find even that. So it's very hard to find any good instructional materials on this topic. So I figured that I could maybe make little PDFs, like a little workshop, and maybe sell it as a digital product. And that's going to be potentially profitable. And as I was saying, it's a lot more fun to do for a loved one than to make a dozen and risk not selling any. So now everything is pressed, and here's what exactly I'm going to do. I'm going to take this one, it's my favorite, and I'm going to hand quilt it to this thin cotton wadding. Then I'm going to just make a sandwich, and it's going to have binding. So this is how that's going to look. Now I need something that's going to be bound. You know what? Let's bind. Now I need something that's going to be quilted to the wadding, to the linen wadding, just to see the difference. So I think I'm going to hand quilt it like this, and it also is going to be bound on a machine. Okay, so I'm going to hand quilt this one, but the other two are not going to be hand quilted. Actually, I think that this one it's going to be self-bound, and I'm not going to quilt it at all. It's just going to be put together and not quilted. The only quilting is going to have, which is not quilting, it's just going to be a line of stitching on the perimeter. Okay, I need to remember what I'm doing. Not quilted. And this one is going to be also self-bound, and it's going to be quilted or straight through on a machine, and we'll see how that looks. It's the next day. I'm back with all my hand quilting done, and I've discovered that actually my problems with hand quilting weren't a wadding problem, it was a yarn problem. Let me explain. So far for my hand quilting, I'm generally using this or this. It's kind of a thick thread, and now I was using this Gutermann hand quilting thread. It's a lot thinner, and it just looks like I need to have the proportion between the thickness of the thread and the length of the stitch kind of in a good proportion in order to feel good about how it looks. That's why my thinner thread didn't look quite as good and quite as even. But so with the thinner wadding, my instinct was to actually take a thicker thread and work with it, but I didn't, because I wanted to see the real difference between this, and this one uses thinner thread. But it's good practice, I suppose. So that's out of the way, and let's see how it does on a thicker wadding. Can I do it? Can I do something that looks nice? Probably. Yes, it works. See, the stitches are longer, but with thicker thread it doesn't bother me. It wouldn't look good, in my opinion, with thinner thread. So yeah, me problem, not a wadding problem. Now I suppose that I'm going to switch to a machine, and I'm going to quilt the one that I'm going to quilt on a machine so that I have everything quilted. Then I'm going to have everything sandwiched, and yeah, that's the plan. But now quilting this one. This one is, I have a note for myself because I have no memory. This is going to be quilted on a machine. Let's do this. I'm not looking forward to it. Finished machine quilting. Definitely a lot faster than doing it by hand, but do I like the result? Especially do I like the back? I'm not the best quilter in the world, and I don't like doing it on a machine because it makes the fabric a lot more rigid than I would like. Like this one, totally different feel. But it's relatively quick and it looks okay. It looks okay. So yeah, we're keeping it, and the next one is going to be no quilting at all. So now I'm going to trim everything and get ready to do the binding. I'm trying to cut everything a little bit away from this corner so that I can get maybe an eighth of an inch or something, like 3 mil, so that I can stitch the binding on. But with this thing, I have it being self-bound, and I'm going to try and keep this thing away from the edge and cut it like this, and we'll see if I mess up. If I do, I'm just going to add a different binding on. Unfortunately, at the very last minute, with the camera off, I did mess up. So I'll have to add the binding the normal way. That's okay. I still have another one that I'm going to self-bind. So I'll see how that looks. Or I'm going to patch it with a little bit of fabric. I think it's going to be okay, especially because it's just a sample. Now everything is trimmed, everything is ready to go, and let's do this. Would you look at that? Good as new. Now, I would usually bind things by hand, but because this sample is quilted on a machine, I'm going to bind it on a machine. Probably all others as well, because I'm running out of time. I don't like precise stitching on a machine. I'm too bad. I'll show you more in detail later, but this is not my best work. That's why I'm not going to attach my binding on a machine ever again. Moving on. Onto this one. It's going to be bound the normal way and has a backing. It took me a moment to figure out how to do the corners on a... Is it a hectagon? Oh, hexagon. It took me a moment to figure out the corners on a hexagon, but I'm going to share my insights with you, like now. I got myself some special pins for these corners because I find it helpful when there's something long. I did use needles on the previous samples. So I'm inserting a pin and using my pattern as a guide so that I can angle it correctly, and then I'm just kind of using it to help me guide my binding where it needs to go. And I can pin it in place and go to the next corner. Sometimes they need adjusting as I'm sewing, but not too much, I've noticed. Let's do another one. It doesn't have a very clear line, but it goes like that. I'm just going to find my corner and go there. And it looks okay in the end. And definitely much better than the yellow thing that I just did. It's definitely faster than doing it by hand, but oh god, it's so much more difficult. I forgot to attach the backing, but and I think the binding is too narrow. It used to be okay. Did I do anything differently when I did it by hand? I don't think so. I'm going to just trim the excess wadding, and this way it's going to fit. It's going to be okay. Okay, next. You know what? I think that I'm not going to be able to finish this today because I actually don't want to do it badly. I was doing the binding on a machine, and here I have a little bit of a problem. It's fixable, but I'm going to have to do it by hand. And the other one that I'm going to bind is also going to be done by hand because I don't want to mess it up. So I'll see you tomorrow, and tomorrow I will finish everything. Now I'll just get ready and I'll just do it after dinner, watching my shows, and I'll see you tomorrow in broad daylight with all the results and comparisons. Hello, I did it. Yesterday I went back to my room and finished all the bindings, and that means one thing, and that is we're going to take a look at what I've done and maybe rank the results and the ideas that I could draw from this experiment. Here's my final pile. The three on top I made previously, and as I mentioned, there are a couple problems with them. First of all, I didn't like the way the finish turned out because this is a bit messy. And second of all, it takes a little bit more time that I would ideally like for something that I would sell. So I was trying to make things that are going to be quicker and cleaner in terms of finish. But they look cute. I wouldn't mind giving them away as gifts to friends. I think it's a perfect gift, and if somebody gifted me something like that, I wouldn't mind that it's a little bit messy on the back. But now we're going to our contestants. We're going worst to best, and this is the worst one. And it's the fastest one, and I guess the problem with this is my skill level. So, quilting looks okay if you don't look too closely and maybe squint, but the binding, the self-binding that I did looks horrible, and I will be taking the stitching out and binding it normally with something else because it's too bad for my standards, and I don't want to waste too much material, so it's going to be fixed later. But I have some conclusions because of this experiment. First of all, I'm not a big fan of the way this looks, but it can be solved. But it's really quick, and I think that with practice and maybe somebody who has more experience with working on a sewing machine could do a very good job with quilting this. So, and probably with binding this. Yeah. So this is what we have, and it's a valuable lesson, and it's bad. It's bad right now. But I made my notes. Next, third place is this one. It's Shigaloo to the dog. The third place is this one. It's self-bound and it has no quilting at all. It was easy to do. It can be easily done by hand. It looks good, more or less. I have personal taste issues with it. Like, the binding for my taste is a little bit too wide. I would like it to be more narrow. And I don't like that it doesn't have any quilting at all. So what I would do is, maybe I can even correct this one. I'm going to take this apart, make the binding more narrow, and put a decorative stitch on the perimeter of this thing so that the back has a little bit of texture to it, because right now it's a little bit too plain. But again, valuable lesson, because I know that it works and it looks kind of good. And if I'm going to sell a tutorial, this is going to be my base option. Like, this is just self-bound hexagon, and it looks pretty enough for me. Next one. Next one is my personal favorite, but it takes the second place in terms of effectiveness. I took a thin wadding and I quilted the design to the thin wadding, and then the thicker wadding is not quilted at all. And the back, as you can see, is not quilted. And because I added it later, I was able to make sure that it lines up vertically, and it looks very neat. So I like this. The problem I have with it is that I was doing the binding, I was attaching the binding on a machine, and it's a me problem, so it's a skill level problem. I didn't do a very good job, and the corners kind of flare out. But it looks good enough for me, and I would feel okay actually selling this thing if I had to, but I'm going to keep it to myself because it's my favorite. Next, the winner. The winner is this one. It's made almost exactly the same as this one, but the backing was attached separately, This way it looks very, very clean, and I like a clean finish. Even though I look as somebody who is messy, but a clean finish is my favorite thing all the way. So it takes quite a bit of time, and I would play with the quilting because now I don't care what it looks from the back. And yeah, I can play with it. I can make the bigger stitches, so it's going to take less time, but the binding is attached separately, and maybe I could combine this with this. Maybe that's kind of the territory where I want to be. Take this idea and maybe do a little bit of decorative quilting and then do a self-binding thing, and that's going to be the easiest and most beautiful thing that I can teach or sell. But for now, I think that I'm done with those. So that's my big project that I was teasing for so long. This is my favorite, and I also really like this one. Let's pause for the thumbnail. And I think that they're cute little things, and I can make them just as I'm watching something or listening to something, and it can keep my hands busy. I think of taking a big jar and just making a bunch of units out of scraps, and then when I have time I can piece them together and make into something beautiful and choose the easiest way to finish it, because finishing takes more time than actually creating the design. I guess my next step with this idea is that I'm going to make it into a tutorial and sell it to unsuspecting Russians. I hope it goes well. And that's it for today. I'm going to see you on Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to do on Sunday because it's already Friday and I don't have the next video figured out. But we'll see. I don't know. Something's going to be happening anyway. And I wish you a good weekend. And yeah.